The galaxy learned too late. What happens when humans abandon civility? Captain William Carter stood tall as the airlock doors of the Earth Alliance vessel Defiance opened onto the massive docking bay of Galactic Council Station Alpha. This was humanity's moment, first official contact with the gathered species of the galaxy. Behind him stood 20 of Earth's finest, scientists, diplomats, and a small security team led by Lieutenant Samantha Miller. "Remember," Carter said quietly to his team, "we represent all of humanity today." The greeting party waiting for them was a mix of alien species. Tall, slender beings with blue skin stood next to stocky reptilian creatures and floating jellyfish-like entities contained in hovering environmental suits. At their center was a being Carter recognized from briefing materials as Ambassador Xolotl of the Zethari, the oldest species in the Council and its de facto leaders. Carter stepped forward and bowed his head slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all human colonies, I bring greetings and hopes for friendship." Ambassador Xolotl did not return the gesture. The tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms simply stared down at Carter with large, unblinking black eyes. "You are late," Xolotl said, the translation device at his throat converting his clicks and whistles into English. "The council session began 20 minutes ago." Carter kept his smile in place despite the cold reception. "My apologies, Ambassador. We followed the docking instructions exactly as provided." "Then your pilots lack basic competence," Xolotl said dismissively. "Follow me. The Council has little time to spare for newcomers." Lieutenant Miller stepped closer to Carter as they followed. The aliens through towering corridors filled with species of all shapes and sizes. "Not exactly rolling out the red carpet, are they, sir?" she whispered. Carter nodded slightly. "Stay sharp, but remember, we need allies, not enemies." The Council chamber was a vast amphitheater with hundreds of delegates from across the galaxy. The human delegation was led to a small platform at the center, where they stood exposed while representatives looked down from elevated positions all around them. Dr. Helen Wright, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, leaned toward Carter. "This is ritualized, Captain. They're establishing dominance by placing us physically lower." Carter nodded, understanding the game being played. He stepped forward and activated the holographic display they had brought. Above their heads appeared images of Earth's art, music, scientific achievements, and peaceful cooperation following the Unity Wars. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," Carter began, "Earth comes before you not just seeking membership, but offering partnership. We bring unique perspectives, resilient adaptability, and a genuine desire to learn from your ancient wisdom." A rumble of what might have been laughter rippled through the chamber. Xolotl raised 2 of his 4 hands, silencing the murmurs. "Captain Carter, the Council has reviewed your species' history. In your brief existence, you have nearly destroyed your planet multiple times. You have waged constant war amongst yourselves. Only 50 Earth years ago, you were splitting atoms to use as weapons against your own kind." Carter had expected this. "Yes, Ambassador, humanity has made grave mistakes, but from each, we have learned and grown. The Unity Wars taught us the futility of large-scale conflict. Our environmental restoration projects show only that you attempt to fix problems of your own making," interrupted a squat, amphibious delegate. "Most species evolve past violence before reaching the stars. Humans simply found better ways to package it." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "If I may address the Council? Every species has a unique evolutionary path. Humanity's challenges gave us remarkable problem-solving abilities that could benefit all. We did not recognize you, human female," Xolotl said coldly. "The Council recognizes only designated representatives." Lieutenant Miller's hand drifted toward her holstered stunner, but Carter gave her a subtle hand signal to stand down. "I apologize for the breach in protocol," Carter said. "Dr. Wright is our foremost expert on interspecies relations, and yet she cannot follow basic counsel. Procedure," said a bird-like being from an upper tier. Typical human arrogance. For 3 more hours, the human delegation presented their case for membership while facing increasingly hostile questions and remarks. The gifts they had brought, rare minerals, examples of human art, and technical innovations, were barely Acknowledged. Finally, a recess was called. The human delegation was escorted to a small waiting room where they could speak privately. "This is a disaster," said Jason Rivera, Earth's diplomatic chief. "They've already decided against us." "Lieutenant," Miller paced the room, "they're not just rejecting us, they're enjoying humiliating us. Did you see how that four-armed gray stick insect looked at us? Like we're animals in a zoo." Carter raised his hands. "Everyone, stay focused. This isn't over yet." Dr. Wright shook her head. "Captain, I've studied hundreds of first contact scenarios. This one is following a troubling pattern. They're not evaluating us as potential equals." When they returned to the council chamber, Zolotl read the official decision. Earth is granted provisional observer status only. No technology transfers. Above Category 3 will be permitted. Human ships are restricted to designated trade routes only. A council monitoring station will be established in your solar system to ensure compliance. Carter stepped forward. "Ambassador, these restrictions are stricter than those placed on any other observer species. May I ask why?" Zolotl's black eyes narrowed. "Because no other species poses the threat that humans do. Your kind are warmongers by nature. The Council has determined that unrestricted human expansion would destabilize galactic peace." "That's ridiculous," Miller whispered, but Carter silenced her with a look. "We accept the Council's decision," Carter said formally, though the words tasted bitter. "Earth will comply with all restrictions while working to prove our peaceful intentions." As they prepared to return to the Defiance, an aide hurried to Carter's side. "Captain, our ship sensors detected unauthorized access to our databases during the Council session. Someone was scanning our genetic samples and downloading military files." Carter immediately requested a meeting with Zolotl, who received them, in a private chamber flanked by two large security beings. "These are serious accusations, Captain," Zolotl said after hearing their complaint, "but typical of human paranoia. Your technology is primitive by our standards. Why would anyone bother to steal it?" "Our scanners don't lie, Ambassador," Carter insisted. "We demand the return of all stolen data immediately." Zolotl stood to his full height, towering over Carter. "You demand nothing. The Council has granted you the privilege of limited contact with civilized species. This privilege can be revoked. I suggest you leave Council space immediately before you create a diplomatic incident." Back on the Defiance, as they prepared to depart, the mood was somber. "They're hiding something," Miller said as they watched Council Station Alpha grow smaller on the view screen. "No one treats potential allies this way." Carter nodded slowly. "Get me a secure channel to Earth Command. I think we've all been naive about our place in the galaxy." Dr. Wright looked at the data they had managed to collect during their brief visit. "Captain, according to these power readings, the Council races have technology centuries beyond what they were willing to share with us. And now they have our genetic data and military specs," Miller added grimly. Carter stared at the stars beyond the view screen. "Lieutenant, when we get home, I want security protocols upgraded across all colonies. And Dr. Wright, I need you to analyze everything we saw today. The Council is planning something, and I don't think humanity is going to like it." As the Defiance entered faster than light travel, none of them realized just how prophetic those words would prove to be. The galaxy learned too late. What happens when humans abandon civility? 5 years had passed since humanity's disappointing first contact with the Galactic Council. Earth had followed all the strict rules placed upon them, staying within approved trade routes and accepting the humiliating monitoring station in orbit around Jupiter. The Council provided only the most basic technology, claiming humans needed to mature before receiving anything more advanced. Commander Joseph Hayes stood at the observation window of Europa Colony, watching as children played in the large underground park. The dome above them projected a realistic Earth sky complete with clouds and simulated sunlight. His wife Olivia worked as a teacher in the colony school, and their daughter Lily was among the children playing below. "Beautiful sight, isn't it?" asked Dr. Frank Powell, the colony's head scientist, as he joined Hayes at the window. Hayes nodded. "Hard to believe we've built all this in just 3 years." "That's what the Council doesn't understand about humans," Powell said. They throw obstacles in our path, and we find ways around them. Hayes's communication device beeped. "Commander, we're picking up unusual readings at the edge of the system," reported the colony's security chief. "What kind of readings?" Hayes asked, suddenly alert. "Unknown ships, sir. They're not broadcasting any identification and they're moving fast." Hayes turned to Powell. "Get everyone to the shelters now." Alarms blared throughout the colony as Hayes rushed to the command center. The main screen showed 5 large vessels, approaching Europa at high speed. They weren't the smooth, elegant designs of council ships. These were angular, covered in weapon mounts and painted with red symbols. "Hithrak raiders," Hayes whispered in horror. The Hithrak were a mercenary species known for their brutality, but they rarely operated this far from their own territory. "They're jamming our communications to Earth," his communications officer reported. "We can't get a distress signal out." Hayes hit the colony-wide announcement system. "All personnel, this is Commander Hayes. Hostile forces are approaching the colony. This is not a drill. All civilians to emergency shelters immediately." The first impacts rocked the colony before everyone could reach safety. Explosive devices breached the outer hull, and aliens in heavy battle armor poured through the gaps. They were reptilian in appearance with red scales and black eyes. Hayes organized the colony's small security force into defensive positions, but they were outmatched. Their weapons, restricted by council regulations, barely penetrated the raiders' armor. "Where's the council monitoring station now?" one of his officers asked bitterly as they fired at the advancing raiders. "Aren't they supposed to protect this region of space?" Hayes had no answer. The Jupiter monitoring station had gone mysteriously silent when the attack began. In the command center, Hayes watched in horror as the raiders methodically destroyed key colony systems. They weren't just attacking. They were following a plan, targeting power cores, water reclamation, and air systems. "They know exactly where to hit us," Hayes realized. The information stolen during first contact. This wasn't random violence. This was a coordinated strike using Earth's own data against them. A massive explosion rocked the colony's main dome. The artificial sky flickered and died as cracks spread across the protective shield. Warning sirens blared as emergency systems engaged to seal off sections of the colony. Hayes tried again to reach the shelter where Olivia and Lily had gone. No response. Communications were down throughout most of the colony now. He fought his way through smoke-filled corridors, helping injured colonists as he went. When he finally reached the shelter area, he found the doors blasted open. Inside, bodies lay scattered across the floor. The raiders had specifically targeted civilians. Hayes searched desperately among the dead but couldn't find his wife and daughter. Hope and despair battled within him. 3 days later, Earth received the first distress signals from Europa. By then, the Hithrak raiders had attacked Mars colony as well. Over 7,000 humans were dead. Another 3,000 were missing. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Reeves stared at her laboratory results in disbelief. As head of Earth's xenobiology division, she had been studying a strange illness affecting returned personnel from both attacked colonies. "This can't be natural," she murmured as she reviewed the data again. The pathogen attacking human cells showed clear signs of engineering. It had been designed specifically to target human genetic markers. She brought her findings to a secure meeting room deep beneath Geneva, where Earth's highest military leaders had gathered. Captain William Carter, now promoted to admiral after his first contact mission, studied the images on the screen. "You're certain this was engineered?" "Without question," Dr. Reeves replied. "What's more, it could only have been created using detailed samples of human genetic material, the kind that was stolen during your mission to the Council, Admiral." Catherine Daniels, head of Earth Defense, slammed her hand on the table. "We've been patient. We've played by their rules. And this is how they repay us? By testing bioweapons on our people?" President Scott Bennett looked older than his 60 years as he entered the room. "We've just received a response from the Galactic Council regarding the attacks." All eyes turned to him. "They express regret for our losses, but claim the Hithrak acted independently. They suggest that human mining operations on Europa may have provoked the attack by infringing on resources claimed by other species. Silence fell across the room. "They're blaming us," Admiral Daniels said quietly. "After everything, they're actually blaming us for being attacked." Commander Hayes, recently evacuated from the ruins of Europa Colony, stood up. His left arm was in a sling and burns covered the right side of his face. "Mr. President, with respect, I was there. This wasn't a random raid. The Hithrak knew exactly where to hit us. They had our colony plans, our defense protocols. They knew exactly how our systems worked." Dr. Reeves nodded. "And the bioweapon confirms it. Someone with access to human genetic samples helped plan this attack." President Bennett took a deep breath. "I've always been an advocate for peace. When we first reached for the stars, I believed we would find friends. Instead, we found races who see us as either a threat to contain or lab rats to experiment on." He turned to face the window. Looking out at the rebuilt city of Geneva, once destroyed in the Unity Wars and now a symbol of human cooperation. "Send one final message to the Council," he ordered. "Tell them we know what they did. Tell them we know they were involved in the attacks. Give them one chance to admit responsibility and provide reparations." Admiral Daniels looked skeptical. "And when they refuse?" President Bennett's expression hardened. "Then we activate Protocol Ragnarok. It's time the galaxy learned what happens when humans abandon civility." The galaxy learned. Too late. What happens when humans abandon civility? The underground conference room beneath the Rocky Mountains had been built during the Unity Wars to survive any attack. Today, it hosted the most important meeting in human history. Military leaders, scientists, and government officials sat around a large table, their faces grim. President Bennett stood at the head of the table. "The Galactic Council has responded to our message." Everyone leaned forward. It had been 1 week since Earth sent its final diplomatic request for the Council to acknowledge their role in the attacks. "They deny any involvement," Bennett said, his voice tight with anger. "They claim our evidence is human paranoia and suggest we should focus on rebuilding rather than casting blame." Admiral Daniels wasn't surprised. "They also refused our request to remove the monitoring station near Jupiter?" "Yes. In fact, they're sending additional peacekeeping vessels to protect human interests. They'll arrive in 3 months. Doctor." Lisa Reeves stood up. "Mr. President, I have new information." She activated the room's display system. Images of human cells under attack from foreign organisms appeared. "We've confirmed that prisoners taken from Europa were used for biological experiments. Some survivors show signs of medical procedures performed without consent." Commander Hayes, his face still bandaged from burns suffered during the Europa attack, closed his eyes briefly. His wife and daughter were among the missing. "Have we located where the captives are being held?" A man at the far end of the table spoke up. This was General Paul Wilson, head of Earth's newly formed Special Intelligence Division. "We have. Our sleeper agent on Outpost Vega has confirmed that human captives have been distributed to at least 3 different council races for study." The room erupted in angry shouts. President Bennett raised his hand for silence. "The council sees us as primitive, violent, and dangerous," Bennett said. "They've contained us, studied us, and when that wasn't enough, they attacked us. But in their arrogance, they've made a critical mistake." "What's that, sir?" asked Admiral Daniels. "They've proven that our ancestors were right to be paranoid." Bennett nodded to his aide, who distributed sealed folders to everyone present. "Ladies and gentlemen, as of this moment, Protocol Ragnarok is activated." People around the table opened their folders. Some looked shocked, others grimly satisfied. "For those unfamiliar with the protocol," Bennett continued, "it was created 50 years ago during the Unity Wars. Our leaders then realized that if humans ever encountered hostile alien life, we would need to be ready." Admiral Daniels stood up. "Phase 1 is already complete. Since the first contact mission, we've been quietly stockpiling resources and expanding our fleet beyond Council monitoring." General Wilson took over. "Phase 2 begins today. Every Earth industry switches to military production. All scientific research focuses on weapons development and defense. We abandon all pretense of complying with council restrictions. Dr. Reeves looked concerned. The council monitoring station will detect increased activity. Let them, said President Bennett. By the time they understand what's happening, it will be too late. We estimate we have 3 months before their peacekeepers arrive. That's 3 months to prepare. Commander Hayes studied the documents. Sir, these ship designs, they're unlike anything we've built before. Because they incorporate technology we've been reverse engineering, explained Admiral Daniels. Every raider ship that attacked our colonies, every piece of alien tech we could salvage, our scientists have been studying them in secret facilities on Earth's moon. What about weapons? Asked a military officer. Council technology is still far beyond ours. Dr. Reeves smiled for the first time. Perhaps not as far as they think. Their arrogance works against them. They've been giving us primitive technology because they believe that's all we can handle. But human ingenuity has taken those basic principles and developed applications the council races never considered. The meeting continued for hours as each phase of Protocol Ragnarok was explained in detail. Earth would withdraw completely from council space. All diplomatic ties would be cut. Every human colony would become a fortress. And behind this veil of isolation, humanity would prepare for war. 2 months later, Nathan Cole sat in a dingy bar on Trading Station Epsilon, a remote outpost at the edge of council space. Cole appeared to be just another human trader, one of the few still allowed to travel limited routes. In reality, he was Earth's most deeply embedded intelligence agent. A four-armed Zethari sat down across from him. This was Valix, a low-level functionary in the Zethari diplomatic corps and Cole's most reliable informant. You shouldn't have contacted me, Valix whispered. It's becoming dangerous for Zethari to be seen with humans. I needed to confirm the information, Cole said quietly. Is it true? Valix's 4 hands twitched nervously. Yes, the Council has authorized full military action against Earth. They call it a protective intervention, but make no mistake, it's an invasion. The Zethari fleet will lead, with support from the Draxian and Mavorian forces. When? 4 weeks. They moved up the timeline when your planet began increasing production. The monitoring station reported unusual activity. Cole kept his face neutral despite the surge of adrenaline. 4 weeks was sooner than expected. What's their objective? Official documents say they plan to establish a permanent presence on your planet to guide human development. Unofficial communications suggest they intend to reduce human population centers and establish breeding facilities. Breeding facilities? Cole fought to keep his voice steady. Human adaptability is unique in the galaxy. Several council races want to study it, harness it. Ambassador Zalotl himself has authorized experiments to see if human traits can be integrated into Zethari genetic lines. Cole had heard enough. He passed Valix a small data chip. Your payment, as always. After Valix left, Cole waited exactly 17 minutes before heading to his small trading vessel. Once inside, he activated a hidden communication system and transmitted a single coded message to Earth. Winter comes early, 4 weeks, full harvest planned. On Earth, the message caused immediate action. Protocol Ragnarok had just lost a month of preparation time. But in many ways, humanity was already ready. In the shipyards hidden on the far side of the moon, Admiral Daniels inspected the flagship of Earth's new fleet. The Nemesis was unlike any vessel humans had built before. It incorporated council technology but with distinctly human modifications. Will she be ready in time? President Bennett asked as he joined the Admiral. She will, Daniels confirmed. They expect to find a planet cowering in fear. Instead, they'll find a hornet's nest they should never have kicked. Bennett looked at the massive ship. I never wanted this. I always believed peaceful cooperation was possible. Peace is still possible, Mr. President, Daniels said. But first, the galaxy needs to learn that humans are not to be trifled with. We tried civility. Now they can experience the alternative. The galaxy learned. Too late. What happens when humans abandon civility? The Zethari invasion fleet moved silently through the darkness of space. 97 warships, the pride of the Galactic Council, approached the human solar system. At their center was the massive command ship Eternal Dominion, where Ambassador Xolotl, now appointed as Conquest Governor, watched the blue planet on his view screen. "Primitive world," he said to his senior commanders. "How fitting that it will soon serve a greater purpose under our guidance." "The humans have gone quiet these past weeks," said Fleet Commander Zarek. "Our monitoring station reports minimal communications and reduced activity on their colonies." Xolotl's mouth formed the Zethari equivalent of a smile. "They sense their doom approaching. Perhaps they spend their final days in prayer to their various gods." The Zethari fleet passed Jupiter, expecting to receive updates from their monitoring station. Instead, they found only floating debris. "The station has been destroyed," reported a sensor officer. Xolotl seemed unconcerned. A final, futile gesture of defiance. "Continue approach." As the alien fleet reached the orbit of Mars, they suddenly stopped. Their sensors detected something unexpected. Energy readings ahead. "Impossible," whispered Zarek as the readings became clearer. "There are ships waiting for us." From behind the red planet came humanity's response to years of Council contempt. 56 vessels of Earth design, but unlike any human ships the Council had seen before. They were angular, heavily armored, and bristling with weapons that should have been far beyond human technology. At their center was the Nemesis, twice the size of any previous human vessel. On its bridge stood Admiral Catherine Daniels, her expression hard as granite. "All ships maintain formation," she ordered. "Remember your training and remember why we fight. Today, humanity shows the galaxy we will not be victims." On the main view screen, a communication request flashed. The Zethari were calling. "Put them through," Daniels said. Ambassador Xolotl's gray face appeared on screen. For a moment, the alien seemed genuinely surprised to see humans commanding such a fleet. He quickly regained his composure. "This is Ambassador Xolotl of the Galactic Council. Your presence here is a violation of Council restrictions on human military activity. Power down your vessels immediately and prepare to receive Council peacekeepers." "Admiral." Daniels let the silence stretch for a moment before responding. "This is Admiral Catherine Daniels of Earth. We received no notification of any peacekeeping mission. However, we did learn of your plans to invade our world, eliminate our population centers, and establish breeding facilities to experiment on humans." Xolotl's black eyes widened slightly, the only indication of his shock. "You are in no position to resist," Xolotl said, his voice colder now. "The Council fleet outmatches your primitive vessels in every way. Surrender now, and we will spare your major cities." President Bennett had joined Daniels on the bridge. He stepped forward to respond. "Ambassador Xolotl, I speak for all humanity when I say, you should have killed us all when you had the chance." Daniels gave the order that humanity had been waiting to deliver for 5 long years. "All ships engage the enemy, show them no mercy." The space around Mars erupted in battle. Council ships fired energy weapons that could tear through most materials known to them, but the human vessels didn't shatter as expected. Their hulls, reinforced with new alloys developed in secret Earth laboratories, absorbed much of the energy. Human ships answered with weapons of their own. During the years of isolation, Earth scientists had taken the primitive technology allowed by the Council and pushed it in directions the aliens never imagined. Missiles carried payloads that disrupted the energy shields of Council vessels. Railguns accelerated projectiles to speeds that turned simple metal slugs into devastating weapons. On board the Nemesis, Lieutenant Gregory Ward led a team of specially trained soldiers. They wore combat suits that made them look more machine than human. "Boarding team ready, Admiral," Ward reported. Daniels nodded. "Proceed as planned. Find their command center and secure all data related to human experimentation and captives." Ward's team boarded small, fast vessels designed specifically for one purpose, latching onto enemy ships. As the Nemesis engaged the Eternal Dominion, directly drawing its fire, Ward's team approached from below, their boarding craft attached to the Zethari ship's hull. Special cutting tools designed based on salvaged alien technology carved through the outer plating. Within minutes, Ward and his soldiers were inside. "Remember," Ward told his team as they moved through the alien corridors, "we need their data intact, but any Zethari who resists is to be eliminated." The Zethari had never expected to fight inside their own ships. Their internal security was minimal. Ward's team cut through the limited resistance, moving steadily toward the command center. Meanwhile, in space, the battle had turned decisively against the Council forces. Human ships moved with unexpected speed and coordination. Earth's fleet commanders had studied alien battle tactics for years and developed counters for each one. Ambassador Xolotl watched in growing horror as his ships were disabled or destroyed one by one. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They're just humans." The doors to his command center exploded inward. Lieutenant Ward and his team stormed in, weapons ready. "Ambassador Xolotl," Ward said, his voice distorted by his helmet's speakers. "In the name of Earth and all human colonies, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity." Xolotl reached for a weapon, but Ward was faster. A single shot knocked the alien to the ground, injured but alive. "Secure the ship's data systems," Ward ordered his team. "Find everything related to human captives and their experiments." Within an hour, the battle was over. Earth had suffered losses, 13 ships destroyed, thousands of brave men and women killed, but the Council fleet had been annihilated. Only a few vessels remained intact, including the Eternal Dominion. "Admiral," Daniel strode onto the captured alien command ship, where Ward's team had secured the bridge. She looked down at Ambassador Xolotl, now restrained and being treated by a human medic. "Why?" she asked simply. "Why did you attack us? We wanted nothing but peace." Xolotl looked up at her with hatred in his black eyes. "Because you are dangerous. Human adaptability, your capacity for violence. The Council saw what you could become. We sought to control your development before you threatened galactic stability. So you attacked us because of what we might do in the future?" Daniel shook her head. "You made us into exactly what you feared." President Bennett joined her, looking at the data Ward's team had recovered. "We've found the locations where human captives are being held. Rescue missions are already being prepared." Daniels turned to her communications officer. "Send this message to all Council worlds. The captured Zethari vessels are being returned to Council space with their dead. Let this serve as proof of what happens when humans abandon civility. We will retrieve our people. Any resistance will be met with the same response delivered today." As the surviving Council ships limped away, carrying news of their devastating defeat, Bennett looked at Daniels. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" "Yes, Mr. President," she replied. "The galaxy will never be the same." The galaxy learned too late. What happens when humans abandon civility? 3 years had passed since the Battle of Mars. The galaxy had changed forever in that time. Captain William Carter, the man who had once led humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Galactic Council, now stood in that same council chamber. But this time he did not stand on the low platform as a supplicant. He stood on the highest tier, looking down at the representatives of dozens of alien races. The scars on his face told the story of battles fought since that first meeting. Beside him stood Admiral Daniels and Commander Hayes, both bearing their own marks of war. The chamber was silent as Carter stepped forward. No being dared to speak. The reputation of humans had spread across the galaxy like wildfire after they defeated the pride of the Zethari fleet. 3 years ago, I stood before you as a representative of Earth, extending the hand of friendship. Carter began, his voice echoing through the vast space. That hand was slapped away. Instead of allies, you chose to make us victims. That was your mistake. On the main view screen behind him, images appeared. Human colonies rebuilding, Earthships patrolling new territories, and most importantly, the thousands of human captives rescued from research facilities across Council space. Following our victory over the invasion fleet, Earth forces liberated over 3,000 human prisoners from your research facilities, Carter continued. Men, women, and even children who had been subjected to experiments without consent. Each rescue operation was met with resistance. Each time that resistance was crushed, the alien delegates shifted uncomfortably. Many races had lost ships and territory to the human fleets that had swept through Council space on their rescue missions. Today, I present the terms of the new relationship between Earth and the galaxy. Admiral Daniels stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed a new map of local space. Large sections previously under Council control were now marked with Earth's symbol. The regions shown here are now part of the Terran Protectorate, Daniels explained. This is not open for negotiation. Council forces will withdraw from these regions immediately. A reptilian delegate rose from his seat. This is outrageous. You claim nearly a quarter of Council space. Carter's expression didn't change. We claim the space necessary to ensure human security. Unlike the Council, we do not take what we have not earned. Each world in the Protectorate was given a choice: continue under Council rule or accept Earth protection. You coerced them, shouted another delegate. Commander Hayes stepped forward, his voice hard. We offered them freedom from exploitation. The Drell of the Cygnus systems had been used as slave labor for centuries. The Novari were being slowly poisoned by your mining operations on their homeworld. They chose us because the Council failed them, just as you failed humanity. From the back of the chamber, a small insectoid being moved forward. This was Ambassador Kritz of the Drell, once considered too unimportant to have a voice in Council matters. The humans speak truth, Kritz said, his words translated by a device at his thorax. For generations my people toiled in your mines and factories. When we asked for rights, we were ignored. When the humans came, they asked what we wanted. They listened. Now my children will not live as slaves. One by one, representatives of other species that had joined the Terran Protectorate spoke up. Each had similar stories of Council neglect, exploitation, or cruelty. For each, humanity had offered something the Council never had: respect and fair treatment. This is the difference between humans and the Council, Carter said after the last ally had spoken. You saw our capacity for violence and tried to contain it. You never understood that the same determination that makes us dangerous enemies makes us valuable friends. A new figure entered the chamber. Dr. Lisa Reeves led a small team carrying containers of medical supplies. Behind her came human doctors and scientists. Despite everything that has happened, humanity has not abandoned compassion, Dr. Reeves said. The medical supplies we bring today will help treat the Mavorian plague that your scientists have failed to cure. Our research teams have developed a vaccine using the same adaptability that you feared in us. The Mavorian delegate's eyes widened. His people had been dying by the thousands from a disease that had resisted all Council medical science. Why would you help us after all that has happened? He asked. Because true strength isn't shown by destroying enemies, Dr. Reeves replied. It's shown by helping others when you have no obligation to do so. Carter moved to the center of the chamber, where Ambassador Zolotl once stood. The former Zethari leader was now a prisoner of war, kept in comfortable but secure confinement on Earth. The Terran Protectorate offers these terms for peaceful coexistence with the Galactic Council, Carter announced. First, recognition of our borders and sovereignty. Second, reparations for the attacks on our colonies. Third, a new galactic charter that guarantees the rights of all sentient species, regardless of technological development. The delegates murmured among themselves. Many looked angry, others fearful, but some seemed thoughtful, even relieved. You have 1 standard month to consider these terms, Admiral Daniels added. We do not wish for further conflict, but we are prepared for it if necessary. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Commander Hayes was approached by a young Zethari, a junior diplomat who had not been involved in the earlier conflicts. Commander, the Zethari said hesitantly, many among my people wonder, why did humans not simply destroy us when you had the chance? After what we did, it would have been understandable. Hayes looked at the alien for a long moment, thinking of his wife and daughter who had died on Europa Colony. The pain would never fully heal. We wanted you to live with the knowledge that you created the very monster you feared, he finally answered. We weren't warmongers until you made us so. The galaxy will remember that it was your civility, not ours, that was the illusion. The Zethari looked down. My generation will work to earn forgiveness, though we may never deserve it. Don't seek forgiveness, Hayes replied. Seek understanding. That's the beginning of real peace. As Earth's ships departed Council space, Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship looking at the stars. Do you think they'll accept our terms? He asked Admiral Daniels. They have no choice, she replied. But more importantly, I think some of them actually want to. The Council dominated through fear for too long. Many species are ready for something better. Carter nodded. Then perhaps something good will come from all this suffering after all. A new galactic order, Daniels agreed, built not on dominance but on mutual respect. And the understanding, Carter added, that civility is a choice, one that should never be taken for granted.